Hey guys, thanks for joining us for the November newsletter. We're easing into winter and depression here in Pennsylvania with the time change and never seeing the sun. I hope y'all stocked up on vitamin D supplements. This month we're talking about women in trucking, an important change that affects all truckers accessing the FMCSA portal, some changes to the FMCSA emergency exemption rule, and more. All right, let's do this! All right, we did it. Congratulations to all you truckers out there. This year, there were 50% less vehicles placed out of service during the CVSA Brake Safety Week. That's amazing. I'm so proud.
Stop celebrating.
Wait, hold on. What was that?
It was worse.
What did you say?
They had 50% less.
Okay.
It was worse.
Sorry about that, guys. That's my mistake. Apparently, the only reason there were 50% less vehicles placed out of service is because there were 50% less vehicles inspected. Wow, 50% less? We honestly have no idea how that happened, and the CVSA doesn't have an explanation for it either. Last year, they inspected over 38,000 vehicles across Canada, Mexico, and the US, and this year it was just under 19,000. You can take a look at all the numbers in the full article, but in the US, we inspected a little over 18,000, and Canada inspected a little over 1,300. Mexico, on the other hand, only inspected 9 vehicles. Wow. Just 9? Regardless of the numbers being higher in the US, we still only inspected about half the amount compared to last year. Sadly, the percentage of vehicles put out of service this year was still at 13%, so there really wasn't any improvement at all. As usual, they were looking for brake-related issues like broken brake drums, loose air tanks, or broken tractor protection valves, which would automatically place the vehicles out of service. This year, their main focus was on brake lining and brake pad violations that might be cracked, contaminated, loose, or even missing. Now, I'm sure you already know this, but in addition to your brakes, there are many other parts on your truck that should be checked in your pre-trip and post-trip inspections. Those inspections are so important to catch any obvious issues that need fixing. If you have questions about your pre-trip inspections or vehicle maintenance, just fill out the form below or call us at 888-260-9448 and a trucking specialist can help you out. But let's be honest, we know that a lot of truckers skip those inspections or just breeze through them, which is why we are constantly reminding you guys. Giving your trucks that once over is worth the lives you save if something was at the point of braking that might have caused an accident. It's really the same thing as if you go on a vacation with your family. You don't just hop in the car and drive across the country, do you? Well, I know I don't. I typically check the normal things before a long road trip, like oil, coolant, and other fluids, tire tread, and tire pressure. It's a peace of mind thing for me. If it's something that could have been prevented, at least I tried. You may have heard about the new pre-trip inspection for CDL testing that has been adopted by so many states. This pre-trip part of the test is even easier than before, and you even get a checklist to reference. Now, even though Pennsylvania is one of the states that adopted this, and our CDL training center is required to test using this new criteria, our CDL instructors still train drivers on a full pre-trip inspection. We do this because we firmly believe in the importance of understanding and identifying all of the components of your truck. For many of our clients, we offer a vehicle maintenance program that will help keep up with routine maintenance, which is the easiest and best way to keep your vehicle in safe operating condition. If you have questions about our vehicle maintenance program or our CDL training school, you can fill out the form below or give us a call at 888-260-9448 or email us at info@cnsprotects.com and one of our trucking specialists will help you out. As a carrier, I'm sure you are aware of all the systems and applications that the FMCSA uses to keep track of vehicle registration, inspections, compliance monitoring, and so many other things. In October 2021, the FMCSA determined that its IT infrastructure was vulnerable to hackers and malware. Since there is a lot of sensitive information associated with these applications, they've been trying to beef up security and comply with the multi-factor authentication mandate. Because of this, users will now access their portal through a login.gov account instead. By December 1st, 2023, Any carrier with an FMCSA portal account will need to switch over to the login.gov site. We're going to walk you through this process right now in 7 short and easy steps. To start, just a heads up, you will have to use the same email address that you're currently using on the FMCSA portal. If you would like to use a different email address, you'll need to log into the FMCSA portal first, change the address associated with the account, and click the Update Your Profile link in the top right-hand corner of the page. So whether you change your email or not, first, you'll need to follow the link on your screen or click the link in the description below and then enter your email address. Second, you need to read the rules of use statement and then check the box. By checking the box, you are confirming that you have read the rules in full and understand them. Third, all you need to do is click the Submit button. Once that's done, you can just close that page. Fourth, you need to access your email and look for a message from login.gov. Fifth, click the button or link in the email that says confirm your email address. After clicking that to confirm, you'll be redirected back to the login.gov site. Number 6, now you need to create your own login.gov password. There are some guidelines you'll need to follow, which we'll throw up on screen, but your password needs to contain all or part of the account name, contain 12 characters including uppercase, lowercase, numeric, and special characters, and your password should be different from password you use on other accounts like your bank or your email accounts. Number 7, you need to set up your second layer of security by setting up a secondary authentication method or two-factor authentication. The FMCSA only requires one secondary authentication, but adding a second method is highly recommended so you have a backup in case you lose access to your primary method. You can use one of the following options. The more secure options are a PIV or CAC card for federal government employees or military, an authentication app, a security key, and face or touch unlock. Some other authentication options that are less secure include getting access codes through a text, a phone call, or by using a list of backup codes. And that's it. You should now be set up with your login.gov account and be able to manage everything through your profile. If you have questions, you can always give us a call at 888-260-9448 or just fill out the form below and we can help you out. Okay, let's get Yilliam from the Wong family up here. Yilliam and Gobi from the Trope family. Thank you guys for coming. We all ready? Shake hands? All right, don't shake hands, whatever. You guys know the rules. Top 10 answers on the board. According to the respondents of the ATRI Top Industry Issues Report, what are the top 10 trucking concerns in the trucking industry in 2020?
Zero-emission vehicles.
Zero-emission vehicles from Gobi survey says number 10. All right, we're going to give Yilliam a try. What do you think, Yilliam? What was that?
The economy.
All right, we got economy. Survey says number 1. Let's go over to the Young family. Is it Young or Wong? Wong, I'm sorry. All right, let's do this. So you should know a lot of these because we've talked about every single one of them in some way over the past year or two. According to Gobi and Yilliam, you already know economy and zero emissions vehicles are on the board, but we also have truck parking, fuel prices, driver shortage, driver compensation, lawsuit abuse reform, driver distractions, driver retention, and delays at customer facilities. So we'll throw some links in the description below to some of the other videos related to each of those topics, but since this is the first time zero emissions vehicles has popped up as a trucking industry concern, let's take a closer look at that. Now, we've been talking about zero emission vehicles for a while on this channel, and Luke has covered it several times in our Looped In with Luke series and on our podcast, Caution Wide Right. The reason we are talking about it is because it revolves around CARB, also known as the California Air Resource Board, and their strict emission standards that 16 states across the US have adopted. And even though there is a lot of controversy around EV vehicles, it's not necessarily that all truckers don't want a zero emission vehicle. Why would they care, right? What trucking industry professionals really want is a realistic timeline to achieve incorporating EVs into their fleets. So right now, for all states that follow the CARB standard, CARB is requiring that every truck sold in those states be a zero-emission vehicle by 2045. Great Scott! Great Scott! That goal is about as realistic as when Robert Zemeckis made Back to the Future 2 and claimed that all cars would be flying by the year 2015. And they gave a 25-year buffer. We're only working with 12 years here. I don't know about you, but that seems a little far-fetched to me. One major issue is that we do not have the infrastructure to support it yet. Right now, long haul in an EV truck is basically impossible. It would actually be better suited for short haul. But even then, short haul trucking companies would have to spend some major coin to even start the process of switching their entire fleet to EVs. The ATRI did document that full electrification of the US vehicle fleet would require over 40% of the country's existing electricity generation, and in some states like California, that percentage could be even closer to 60%. Also, equipping truck stops across the country with EV charging stations would bring the initial cost of launch to over $35 billion right off the bat. Over 50% of survey respondents believe that understanding these impacts and their associated cost increases across the supply chain is the preferred strategy when considering EVs. Also, over 22% of them believe that the best way to address zero-emission vehicles is to repeal the federal excise tax, which is the highest of any excise tax at 12%. If you combine this with the CARB requirements, it will cost even more to buy these California compliant trucks with extended warranties that some companies don't even want or need. Ultimately, to save money, it could lead these companies to looking for loopholes. For example, if a company had a hub in a neighboring state that is not regulated by CARB, they could purchase their new vehicles in that state instead. Outside of cost, respondents are concerned about the increased risk for everyone on the road based on heavier curb weights and the increasing size, power, and performance of EVs. At the end of the day, ATRI says there needs to be more research on the safety of EV semis. For example, while EVs with smaller batteries have less fire issues than traditional cars, there's a fear that these bigger batteries in semis could cause more issues. If you have any questions, one of our trucking specialists would be happy to help. You can just fill out the form below or call us at 888-260-9448. Well, the FMCSA is at it again with all the rules. Geez, get off our backs already. Look, this is why me and my ex-wife called it quits. Don't go out with your friends. Don't drink every night. Don't wear clothes with holes in them. Be healthier. I mean, come on, leave me alone. Why do you want me to be such a good person? Anyways, this time they're narrowing the emergency exemption rule to eliminate certain economic related conditions that are caused by market forces. First of all, let's talk about what is actually considered an emergency. An emergency could be anything that involves a whole lot of wind, a whole lot of water, a whole lot of snow, explosions, or fire. Well, you get the idea. Basically, an emergency is any natural disaster that interrupts the delivery of essential services or supplies, or threatens human life or public welfare, or results in a declaration of emergency by the president, a governor, the FMCSA, or any federal, state, or local government official with the authority to declare that emergency. Or it could also be a request from police officers for tow trucks to move wrecked or disabled vehicles. If you are ever confused about these exemptions, you can always get in touch with us. Just fill out the form or call the number on screen. Okay, now that we know what an emergency is, what is an emergency isn't? I mean, what is not an emergency? That's what I meant to say. Well, this would include things like shortages of raw materials or supplies, labor strikes, driver shortages, inflation, or a fluctuation in freight shipment or brokerage rates. The final rule revises the federal motor carrier safety regulations to the following. 1. Automatic relief of hours of service regulations during an emergency will be allowed, but the duration and scope of the exemption will be shortened, except in federal emergency cases declared by the President. 2. The provision that provided automatic regulatory relief for other elements such as medical certification of drivers, vehicle inspection requirements, parts and accessories, and transportation of hazardous materials will be eliminated. Number 3, the regional emergency exemption window will be reduced from 30 to 14 days. 4, additional reporting requirements will be allowed when issuing extended or modified exemptions. And 5, a dedicated email inbox for extensions or modification requests will be established. This final rule will take effect 60 days after being published in the Federal Register, which will happen around December 11, 2023. If you have any questions, just fill out the form below or give CNS a call at 888-260-9448, and one of our DOT compliance specialists will help you out. Have you ever gotten on the toll road and thought, oh crap, I don't have any change? Well, I guess I'll just drive through this easy tag. They'll never know. Well, little did you know that they have these fancy schmancy contraptions now that they call cameras. And those fancy schmancy cameras can capture a shot of that specific moment in time so you can go back and reminisce on it later. If I'm not mistaken, I think they call those pictures. Well, in this case, the picture is not for reminiscing. A few weeks after you flew through the easy tag, PennDOT sends you a little gift in the mail. Any guesses? Yep, it's a ticket to pay for that toll with a picture of your car and maybe even you driving. Pretty creepy, right? Beware, you're being watched. But let's be honest, we've all been there. I know I have, but the only difference is I actually pay the ticket. Actually, I guess I should correct myself there. It's not even really a ticket. They're just charging you for the toll that you should have paid in the first place. Well, apparently there are a lot of people out there that just toss those in the trash. So many that in 2023, the number of unpaid tolls increased $15 million, bringing the total amount of unpaid tickets to 170 million. For some reason, it didn't matter before, and they just kept cutting down trees and printing and sending these notices over and over and over again. And y'all just kept throwing them away over and over and over again. Ah yes, the circle of life. Well, they're doing something about it now. As of January 2nd, 2023, if you have $250 or more in unpaid tolls, your vehicle registration will be suspended and you might even face fines. They are also approaching the issue in several other ways, including taking from lottery winnings of more than $2,500 or deducting the amount from state income tax refunds. Here at CNS, we've been handling our clients' licensing and permitting needs for over 30 years, whether it be for local residents and their personal vehicles or local commercial motor carriers. If you have any questions, call or email us or just fill out the form below and one of our DOT licensing specialists will help you out. So, it's that time of the year again, time to discuss the state of insurance in the trucking industry. Luckily, we have the good old American Transportation Research Institute to help us out. The ATRI just released a new report that examined a few things. They were looking at whether or not there was an improvement in insurance rates, the impact of lawsuit abuse reform, and any strategies to keep trucking insurance rates down. One of the key findings in the report is that they finally saw a decrease in average insurance premiums, hopefully pointing toward a downward trend. The drop was seen with smaller carriers coming down from the high rates in 2020, and private carriers also saw a significant decline in insurance premiums per mile. Good news, right? You bet. But why the drop? Well, potentially, the increased acceptance of technology could be to thank here. Drivers are becoming more open to adding cameras, telemetry, and artificial intelligence to their trucks to reduce insurance rates. These are all tools that help reduce risk and in turn reduce premiums. Your insurance carriers use the data from these different pieces of technology to assess and calculate your risk level. If you have questions about how you can take advantage of this technology to reduce your premiums, just call or email us or fill out the form below. As far as lawsuit abuse, we have discussed this before. You probably remember us talking about nuclear verdicts and how people take advantage of the system. Well, the ATRI report confirms that this issue needs addressing, just based on the number of occurrences and size of verdicts and settlements against the trucking industry. These lawsuits also ultimately cause higher insurance premiums for all carriers, regardless of their safety performance or crash involvement. Even small claims have seen a significant increase in costs. Not good news, right? Nope. Well, the ATRI has proposed several strategies to address these issues, including state-level reforms to cap the damages paid to plaintiffs in truck-involved crashes. Recently, we saw Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds signing a law that limits non-economic damages to $5 million. This would apply in lawsuits against trucking companies whose employees were found to have caused the accident. Another strategy that they propose is the elimination of phantom damages. Those are the inflated differences between billed and actual medical costs. There have already been legislative wins in Florida and Montana that are addressing this issue, making it more challenging for plaintiffs to secure large verdicts. Our good friend and trucking industry guru, Loop-de-Loop, touches on these topics during this episode of the Caution Wide Right podcast. Check it out for more info. Lastly, they were addressing the rise in third-party litigation financing, which provides capital for a plaintiff's case, which is most likely contributing to more litigation and frivolous lawsuits. If you have questions or need help securing affordable insurance coverage to protect your business, give us a call at 1-800-724-5523 or fill out the form below to get started. Also, you can consider getting help from our sister company, Compliance Navigation Specialists. They will help you stay in compliance with the FMCSA rules and regulations so you can maintain low commercial insurance rates. As we have discussed in the past, there are an increasing number of women joining the trucking industry. As of July 2023, an average of 12.1% of all professional drivers holding a CDL license and driving heavy-duty trucks are female. Outside of driving a truck, there are also a lot of female workers in other positions. 43.5% of all dispatchers are women, which is just as important as driving a truck. These women are managing a driver's schedule and making sure pickups and deliveries are made on time, which is of course crucial to a trucking company's success. There is definitely an increase in women in the industry, but ATRI wanted to know more. They recently launched a survey and asked motor carriers to participate so they can understand what motor carriers are doing to recruit and retain women specifically in the trucking industry. We were also curious about gender diversity in trucking, so we asked Ellen Boyd, the founder of Women in Trucking, to join us on our podcast, Caution Wide Right. We will add that link above so that you can hear what she has to say, how she got into the trucking industry, and what she's doing to get even more women involved. If you have questions or are interested in being on our podcast, feel free to contact us using the form below. Well, that's it for this month. To the one guy that maybe watches this far, I hope you learned something. And if you ever have questions, give us a shout. We'll be happy to help. See you next month.